I was on the verge of dying when a strange, alien woman, part vampire, part mystery, fed me her blood. Now I don't age. I don't bleed. I don't die. There were exactly 3 things Taven Core knew as he drifted half-conscious in the void between stars. First, the AI on his cargo hauler had recently decided passive aggression was the best form of emergency protocol. Second, his oxygen gauge was counting down like it was preparing a speech for his funeral. And third, he probably shouldn't have accepted a shady job from a man named Skarn in a bar located inside a crash-mining drone. He'd passed out a couple times already. The constellations above him twisted like melted glass. But the third time he opened his eyes, he sensed something new. Not just cold and death, something watching and breathing right in his face. Floating before him was a woman. Or maybe something pretending to be one. Her skin was pale like frozen ash, her eyes as dark as collapsed stars. Black hair drifted around her head in zero gravity, like it had a mind of its own. Her ears were pointed, not like fantasy elves, more like something that once ate starlight and regretted nothing. "You're breaking," she said, voice smooth but buzzing like a malfunctioning comms line. Tay tried to move, failed. "You're not the Grim Reaper," he rasped. "Too pretty." She didn't react to the compliment, just placed a slender, claw-tipped hand on his chest. The touch burned through his suit like acid, but strangely he didn't care. "You're unraveling. Time's slipping through your skin," she murmured. Flattering. "But I usually like to know someone's name before they perform surgery." She didn't smile. Instead, she pulled a short curved blade from her belt, her armor a mix of polished bone and pulsing tech. She sliced her own wrist like it was nothing, thick black gold blood bubbling out, hot and metallic. It smelled like thunderstorms and burning wires. Tay's survival instinct screamed no. He drank anyway. The change was instant. His blood turned into sparks. His heart kicked like it had been hit with a jumpstart cable. Light burst behind his eyes. Symbols he didn't know, galaxies he'd never seen, and a scream that came from somewhere older than language. Then darkness. He woke up staring at a ceiling that pulsed like it was breathing. The walls were soft amber, like he was inside a living thing that was pretending to be a room. He groaned. "Okay, I'm either on a med ship or someone's idea of an alien-themed funeral." The woman, no longer just a hallucination, floated into view again. Her coat trailed behind her like shadows shaped by thought. "You lived," she said. "Yeah, thanks, I guess. I feel like I swallowed a thunderstorm." "You are changed," she replied. "You no longer decay." Tay sat up, wincing as his body surged with unfamiliar power. "Immortal? Just like that?" "You will live. For how long depends on the choices you make." He looked down at his hands, his veins now faintly glowing. "I'm a battery." "You are more than that," she said. "But you're also not mine, not my servant, not my creation. You're something else." "Well, that's comforting." "There is no fee for what I gave you," she said, then added, "except the attention it brings." He squinted. "From who?" "Hunters, researchers, entities that live in the dark between systems. Some will want your body, some your blood, some your voice." "Oh, fun. The usual." She tilted her head again, studying him. "I am Lurian. This is my ship, Sithra. Welcome to your new reality." The ship's AI, dry, sarcastic, and clearly British-coded, spoke up as Tay wanted the glowing halls. "Please refrain from licking the blue walls," it said. "They're not food, neither are the pink ones. And don't touch the crystals. They hold grudges." He paused. "Is the ship alive?" "She's awake," Lurian said simply, "and temperamental." Noted, as he adjusted to his not-dying situation, Tay realized he was starving. The hunger was primal, deep, electric, like every cell was screaming for fuel. Lurian led him to a food module, a glowing chamber with shelves that hovered in orbs that gently floated around like jellyfish. One dropped onto a tray in front of him. It was teal. It pulsed. "Is that alive?" "It was," Lurian said. "Now it's nutrition." With deep hesitation, Tay bit into it. It popped in his mouth like honey mixed with cinnamon and static electricity. His knees buckled. He gasped. "Did I just eat joy?" he asked, tears in his eyes. "You adjusted faster than I expected," Lurian said, unreadable. Later, sitting in a lounge that looked like a cross between an alien cathedral and a fever dream, Tay tried to make sense of it all. Lurian sat across from him, watching. "You need to understand what you become," she said. "I didn't exactly sign up for this. Our blood isn't just life. It's memory, potential, mutation. You are not undead. You are extended, amplified, a variable no one planned. Sounds like something a mad scientist would say before the lab explodes. You're not a lab rat," she said. "You're a fuse." "Great. So, what now?" "Paraxis," she said. "A lost planet. Buried archives. Secrets that might explain what you are. Of course it's a forbidden archive world," Tay muttered. "Couldn't have just been a library." Before they could get far, warning sirens blared. The ship trembled. "Visitors," the AI said. 3 ships. No ID. Armed. Rude. "Scavengers," Lurian muttered. "Worse than pirates. Pirates have codes." The ship rocked again as something latched onto its hull. Tay stood up. "Do we hide? Fight." She was already transforming, arms glowing with blade light, eyes sharp as razors. "You stay here." "Yeah, not happening." The battle was quick. Lurian moved like liquid vengeance. Tay landed a punch he wasn't sure was even physically possible. After the last attacker hit the wall, Tay leaned against the corridor. "So, is this what my life is now?" "You survived," she said again, almost a whisper. "That your answer for everything? It's the only one that matters." Days later, Tay stood in the observation dome, chewing on what he now called a space plum. The stars stretched endless around him. Behind, Lurian stared at the void. "You walk heavy," she said. "That an insult?" "The blood hums. It's restless." "I get that," Tay said. "I feel like I'm glowing from the inside. I don't even know what I am." She turned toward him. Slowly, "You're becoming." That supposed to sound comforting? She touched the railing. The ship responded with a low purr. "This vessel found me. It was broken, half aware, abandoned after its captain tried to bind it to a dying god. The ritual failed. The god exploded. The ship sulked for 50 years. That's a lot. I understand it. Broken, angry, but still here. And me, we're going to Paraxis. To understand what your change means. To see what you might become." Tay stared into the nebula swirling in the distance. He didn't know if he was scared, excited, or just hungry again. "Do they have more space fruit there?" She didn't answer, just watched the stars, her eyes unreadable. Whatever came next, Tay knew one thing for sure. This was only the beginning. "If we're lucky," Lurian said, raising an eyebrow like she wasn't convinced luck existed. Taven shrugged. "Hey, sarcasm's my only defense mechanism that doesn't involve screaming. Plus, I've found that cracking jokes in the face of ancient, blood-based immortality cults keeps me from melting down, emotionally speaking." Right on cue, the ship dimmed around them. "Course locked," chirped the Citra's AI, voice far too cheerful for a machine with a murder history. "Destination, Kitharos. Estimated arrival, 28 hours. Caution, planetary orbit currently occupied by convoy from the disciples of Final Drift. Noted for weaponized philosophy and aggressively abstract sermons." Tay's face crinkled. "Weaponized theology? What do they worship? Math?" "Entropy," Lurian said, eyes narrowing. "They take decay personally." "Cool. So I'll offend them just by existing." 28 hours later, the Cithra dropped out hypershift above Kitharos, a blue-white world stitched with chaotic storms and glowing magnetic fractures. Orbiting it were 3 monstrous cathedral ships, each shaped like rib cages tangled with antennae and gun ports. Taven blinked. "Okay, wow. These people really committed to their aesthetic. We must land before they scan your blood," Lurian said. He stared at her. "Wait, they can do that." She tapped the control panel. "They're nosy." As the ship dipped into the atmosphere, Alarms flared. The AI sounded disturbingly excited. Defensive grid has locked on. Deploying misdirection protocol. Releasing irony-grade decoy packages. We have those. Tay asked. They explode into confetti and quotes from nihilist poets. Oh, yes, do that. Outside, 6 harpoons ripped toward them like glowing lances. Cithra spun midair and shed 3 floating decoys that burst into shimmering sparks. A deep voice followed. All forms degrade. All choices echo. Tay burst out laughing. Lurian did not. They landed in a shimmering field of crystal grass, each blade catching light like broken glass. Ahead stood a worn tower, bone-colored, weathered, pulsing faintly like it was dreaming. The archive, Lurian said. Tay sighed. Here we go. Time to bond with some ancient knowledge. Maybe summon a ghost. Definitely get cursed. She didn't argue. You know this'd drive you insane. I drank glowing blood from a stranger in space, he said. Insanity and I are on first-name terms. The archive's entrance split open with a sound like an ancient beast waking up with a stiff neck. The stairs inside glowed faint blue, carved from some single mineral vein. Why is it always stairs? Tay muttered. Would it kill an ancient alien race to install a lift? Descent is symbolic, Lurian said as she brushed past him. Knowledge should require effort. So does carrying groceries. No temple for that. The steps spiraled down endlessly, the walls marked with strange glyphs that flickered, some of them suspiciously like they were trying to wink or burp. At the bottom, a round chamber crowned with artificial starlight. In its center hovered a sphere the size of a head, dripping trails of glowing fluid into the floor. Tay approached cautiously. This is very touch it and wake a sleeping god energy. Don't touch it, Lurian said. I wasn't going to. That is the core and imprint vault. Veltrin minds recorded thoughts here across millennia. We need a specific one. Let me guess. Cryptic message, vague prophecy, potential mental implosion? She placed her palm near the orb. It responded by spinning faster, dimming the chamber until it hummed with pressure. Then came a voice, not heard so much as injected into their minds. Variant bloodline detected. Anomaly confirmed. Resonance cross-type functional. Tay winced. Did that thing just call me a synthetic derivative? Yes, Lurian said, without elaboration. The orb pulsed again, and threw them both into a vision. They stood not in the chamber, but in a swirling gold void filled with hovering memories. A scene formed. A Veltrani woman kneeling beside a dying, alien creature. She pressed light into its chest. It lived and changed. Too much. The gift broke it. The once saved creature erupted with rage, overwhelmed by power. It turned on its savior. She fell. Okay, Tay said, watching the pasture right itself. So, attempt 1, not great. Result, catastrophic failure. The orb declared flatly. Back in the room. Tay exhaled. So how are we doing? Lurian met his gaze. You're still alive. That's new. I knew I was a statistical outlier. The orb wasn't finished. A new vision swelled around them. Not a memory, but a glimpse forward. Tay stood cloaked in shadows, eyes glowing. Behind him, fire wore a cracked star bleeding energy. In front of him, Lurian, falling. Tay tore free with a gasp. Nope. That looked like a prequel to a bad ending. The bond is stronger than expected, she said, her voice tight. It's rewriting us. Tay pointed at the orb. Did that glowing stress ball just say we're heading for catastrophe? Before she could answer, the room trembled. Visitors. The AI buzzed into Tay's ear. The church is knocking with artillery. They ran. This time, faster. Fewer jokes. Tay noted how Lurian's movements were precise, unfaltering. She wasn't just a powerful alien. She was practiced. She was ready. What's the new plan? He asked. We flee. I hate that plan. Do you have a better one? He grinned. We flee dramatically. Back aboard the Sithra. They broke from orbit just as fire rained onto the archive. The AI. Sounding pleas announced they'd suffered only superficial damage and several passive-aggressive messages from the church's fleet. In the aftermath, Tay collapsed into a seat. So, what did we actually learn down there? Lurian watched the fading planet from the viewport. That you weren't chosen by chance. The bond found you because you were already changing. He blinked at her. Neat. Now I need a snack, a nap, and a minor breakdown. You may pick the order. Thanks, Mom. Later, the ship floated quietly in the shadow of a cracked moon, its surface leaking glowing gas into the void. Tay sat cross-legged on the floor of the command deck, a flickering candle in front of him. The AI had downloaded a meditation guide called Transcending the Noise, but so far, Tay had only transcended into frustration. You must quiet your thoughts, Lurian said, appearing behind him like she lived in shadows now. My thoughts are like plasma storms. Violent, unhelpful. Think of them as lazy space noodles. He cracked a smile, still terrifying, but now with carbs. They sat in quiet for a while, both lost in thought. I keep seeing that vision, Tay muttered. The one where everything burns. Where you, Lurian, cut in. Visions are not fates. They're warnings. Still don't like being someone's prophecy. You're not anyone's anything, she said, sharper than usual. You are your own. He stared at her, then grinned, inspirational and violent. You're a motivational poster waiting to happen. Next time, she said, I'll bring tea before I save your life. Later, in the dome, they stood beneath the stars. Tay felt different. The hum in his blood, in the ship, in the air between them. It was growing. There's a signal, she said, in the dark halo nebula. Older than even my people. The lexicon hinted at it, a fail-safe. They made 3 jumps and dodged a swarm of spatial jelly krakens before arriving. The beacon wasn't a spire. It was a floating sphere the size of a mountain, surface shifting like liquid metal dreaming. Inside, not tech. Memory. Lives. Failures. Triumphs. Tay saw a version of himself in one vision, standing before a council, speaking not for power but for connection. The beacon's message was silent, but clear. You are not a weapon. You are a bridge. It was never about power, he whispered. It was about understanding, Lurian confirmed. They left the beacon altered, not visibly, just more in tune. The space between them felt less tense, more real. Back aboard the Cithra, Tay sucked rehydrated noodles from a tube. So, what are we now? He asked, waving a soggy string between them. Allies. Partners. Something unnamed. Unnamed is good. Means we get to decide. And cause trouble, she added. They both laughed. Real, earned laughter. The kind that meant they were still here, still strange, still alive. When I took that job, Tay said, leaning back, all I wanted was to see stars, not become one. Then the stars got ambitious, she said, watching space roll past. He raised his makeshift dinner in a salute. Let's give them a story worth telling.